So if you were here yesterday, hello, it's me again. If you weren't, I'm Graham Stone from the University of Huddersfield. This is the library's view. Little bit of context to start off, and we've already mentioned this at the beginning, but just to refresh your memories, we're talking about web scale discovery. So out of scope, certainly what most of us, or what will be out of scope for most of us, are things like federated search and link resolvers. We're just talking about the web scale discovery. But I wanted to make it a note to say that it's still very, very important and we need it to work. So although certainly I'll be talking about web scale, without a link resolver it's not going to work. Without the standards, it's not going to work. So I'll throw that one in. A little bit of context from the Huddersfield point of view, so you know where I'm coming from. We were the first UK customer I think it was Europe. I think we were the second implementation in Europe, the first in the UK, with Summon back in 2009. So we've been doing this for 5 years. Certainly call us an early adopter. So what I'm going to say, and the examples I'm going to use, are based on our use at Huddersfield of Summon, but we think that they apply to certainly the other three. So it's not just a Summon-based presentation. Also, to give you an idea of where we were in 2009, before web scale discovery was kind of there. We were using link resolvers. We had lots of stuff all over the place. I love the quote from Dave Patton, our systems manager, who is very vocal about the fact that certainly in 2009 we seemed to be, as librarians, obsessed with training mini librarians everywhere, and all our users had to have all the skills of librarians in order to get your content. And strangely enough, they all moved to Google fairly quickly. And that's a quote from Carol Tenopir, saying pretty much the same thing back then. So that's kind of where we were. When I was doing a bit of research and sort of looking around for this presentation, I found something from Aaron Tay, who's at the National University of Singapore, another Summon user, and we talk about various things. And he came up with 8 things about web scale discovery. I've stolen the first 3 because I thought they were quite pertinent to what we want to say, what I want to say to you this afternoon. So I'm going to go through and try to sort of base some of this in some evidence that we've got from Huddersfield about the increase in e-resources, about undergraduates, and the interesting one, I think, the third one, is that I am sat up here as a librarian saying discovery is good. It's not the same view from everybody, but I'll come on to that. So to start, usage, value. We've talked a lot about value and impact and various things already at the conference. As libraries, we've got increasing pressure from our paymasters to show value for money absolutely everywhere. We need to get the maximum value from all the content that we purchase. This is now the way we're working. I have to, if I'm going to subscribe to anything this year, I may have to show evidence at the end of this year that we got value from it. The other thing, and I guess it's a plug for another Huddersfield project. For the last 4 years, we've been running a project, or now part of a project, a wider project called the Library Impact Data Project. It came out of some research that started at Huddersfield. 2010-11, we got some support from JISC and worked with several other partners in the UK, where we have now got a lot of evidence to show that there is a link, a very firm link, between usage of e-resources and student attainment. We showed it across 8 partners in the UK, which looked at about 33,000 students and the data there, and we showed a link between the two. It's not a cause and effect link, which I have to say very quickly before people tweet it, but it is a link, and the same research was done independently in Australia and in the States, and they all came up with the same evidence that the more students use, the more likely they are to get a better reward at the end of it. At the same time, we have things from ARL on value for research as well, and the work of Carol Tenopir, the work of Megan Oakleaf have all come up with the same thing. So it's in our interest to drive usage because we've got a link. I should also say it's not up here at Huddersfield as well. We found a link with retention too. We found that users that use our e-resources are less likely to drop out of the courses. Again, it's not down to the e-resources, it's an engagement thing. So we want to keep people involved. So that's the kind of background. I've now got a treat for you. I've got about half a dozen slides that look like this. So I hope the coffee was strong, and it's always good to do an after lunch session. This is really this is some of my evidence I'm hoping to wow you with. Don't worry if you can't see all the numbers and can't see all the squiggly lines. They're not all like this. This is all based on counter downloads, and I'm not going to reveal who they are, but it's not necessarily who you think they are. I'll say that quickly. So this is some usage we've got, and this is really just showing you the general trend that we found at Huddersfield. This is data from 6 years worth of data before discovery, after discovery. It's a very large, big deal. With this one, usage is going up incrementally every year. I've thrown this one up here because it's pretty much representative of our usage and of a lot of libraries' usage. It's still going up. So that's the kind of control, I suppose. I'm now going to show you a couple of things that there is a definite relationship with before and after we implemented discovery and what we think's happened. This second one, this particular big deal, again, don't worry too much that you can't see things. The bottom line is last year's usage. The high lines are before discovery. So I've just said that on average stuff's going up. This particular big deal was one that before discovery, all our subject librarians used to say to the particular faculty, go to publisher X and search for the content. And they all went there and they searched for it. We implemented discovery and people went into Summon, and what we found is that they found that that publisher wasn't the only publisher of that discipline. So the usage dropped because they were finding content elsewhere. This isn't one in here to scare you. It's sort of one in here, I guess, for the medium publishers, size publishers we were talking about this morning. You know, this is a big deal, and it actually went down. It actually went up this year because we added more content from a different discipline. So another group of students are coming in and using it. But it's not all up. But what we think from this, and I'm going back to our value for money proposition that we have to show, what Summon's doing is it's levelling the playing field as far as we're concerned. It's giving every journal, as long as the metadata's good and the content's good, a fair crack. And we're not anymore saying go to this publisher, we're saying go to Summon. There is an opposite end of this. This is the third big deal I've got to show you. The line across the bottom is before discovery. That's a journal package that we never ever pointed people to. We had it, but we didn't say go to this publisher. As soon as we implemented discovery, suddenly the usage shot up. Now, in all honesty, we were looking at cancelling this with that usage. It was pretty poor, and now it's good. We like it. It's value for money. There's actually a connection between the two because this has some of the content that the other publisher had as well. So again, people are finding the content. So that's the big deals. We've also got some evidence. This is a society publisher. And a bit more readable, the middle bar is 2010-11. We implemented Summon, or we signed with Summon in 2009. We implemented early 2010 and then replaced our previous system. We ran the two in tandem for 6 months and then replaced. So that year, there's a jump, and then after discovery, it suddenly goes up. And I could show you, I'm not going to, I could show you many of these. I spent a good couple of hours looking at little graphs, and they all look like this to a certain extent. And this is the impact that we found, certainly for society publishers. Your content's being found. The other thing to show you is a publisher that didn't index any of its content in Summon. I've only got a couple of green lines there to show you for up to 2011-12, because that's the last time we used that particular publisher. It fell off a cliff. No one could access the content, and eventually we took the decision, one reason or another. It's, again, I should always emphasise, it's not just usage, but we investigated it and we decided to move away from that. So again, you've got the success story and maybe not the success story there. That's the kind of implication that we had. If your content's in an aggregator, then, and that aggregator, it has the content within Summon, again, we've seen that aggregators' usage is going up. And again, there's a kind of little blip for some reason, and then usage building for the years after. So again, similar story. I bet you can probably guess what's coming next. This is an aggregator that didn't or refused, and it's, again, not necessarily who you think it is. In fact, it isn't who you think it is. This is an aggregator that doesn't index anything in Summon, refuses to. I think they refuse to aggregate or put any of their content in any of the discovery services. Again, I've only got data to 2012, because when we saw a drop like that, again, this is all around the time that we had the cuts. It makes decisions quite easy, I've got to say, when you've suddenly had a 5-10% cut to when you've got to get rid of stuff. Again, that was a consequence. So this one's no longer with us. A&I databases, I just want to say something quickly about that. This is the only one I'm going to tell you who it is, because interestingly enough, it's a ProQuest A&I database. And of course, we bought Summon from ProQuest. This is something we cancelled, because again, as soon as we implemented Discovery, the A&I completely went. One of the reasons I put this up here as well is to show you it's not just Discovery. There's a gradual decline in usage of A&I. Now, one of the drops there is probably when we brought in federated searching at the time, and then there's another drop at Discovery. I'm not saying don't have your content indexed in A&Is, and I'm not saying we want to cancel all A&I databases. That is absolutely the opposite. We've got a number of databases, and I can happily mention things like PsycInfo, CINAHL. We review every year, but unless someone closes our School of Human and Health, we're not going to be changing or removing. There are certain things that are absolutely key, and we will always use them. But some, maybe the peripheral ones, again, we've got rid of. One of the things with that is, when you're faced with the cuts that we've all been facing, I would much rather get rid of something that only gave me an abstract than your content. I don't want to be stuck with just abstract indexes and absolutely no content to show people. So it helps make some decisions for us. It's not just us. It's not just a Huddersfield thing. I've had a look around some of the literature. The first two there are both Summon customers, and then I've put something in there for a bit of balance, a WorldCat local. And again, people are all seeing usage go up for their resources after discovery. A lot of people can give you similar graphs to the ones I've just shown you as well. We've talked to other universities, and it's similar stuff. So it's not just us. The second point that Aaron put up on his blog is about the user's view, and I'll just give you a couple of of examples of this. Again, the student experience is incredibly important to us, obviously. And it's not just that, it's the whole user experience, it's, researcher, academic experience. Because we did a bit of work around some, and we assessed a year or two into the contract with them whether we'd actually spent the money wisely. We did a lot of focus groups and we talked to a lot of students. And I've got some quotes for you, which I think is probably the easiest thing. We were talking this morning about how it would be useful to find out what authors and users thought. This is what ours think. This is a PhD student. This we put on posters all over the university because it says a lot more than the library going, use this. Very effective. This is an undergraduate student, which is quite interesting. I do quite like that one. There was another one that said, someone's like Google for the library, which was a high compliment, we thought. But again, this is, people liked it. And this is one of our lecturers. I don't think he represents every lecturer at the university, I hasten to add. But again, some nice views. So we've got a lot of that. We've got a few that didn't like it. We've got a few that thought we were going to get rid of various things and didn't. We had a bit of education and training to do there, but this is what the majority of the people were telling us, which is good to know. The librarian's view. This is interesting. It is a bit of culture shock, and it's not just us. We did a project with Northumbria University and looking at the implementation and the cultural change. And a lot of the subject librarians didn't like what we were doing. It was too easy. And this, again, is Dave, our systems librarian. I'll let you read this. He has an opinion, as you can see. But again, that's the kind of view. And that's the kind of view some of the students were getting from us. And again, it goes back to his comment that why are we training them to be librarians? Why do we have to have an hour-long session to train them to use something that really they should just be able to go in and use? So that's one thought, quite a provocative thought. This one from Grand Valley State, and again, a bit of a lengthy one, but in there basically it's freeing time up. It's one search. You can train people on that. As long as they can get to the content, you can concentrate on other things. And one of our own academic librarians as well. And from both of these, they're both basically saying it's allowing time for information literacy. It's allowing us to teach the students, the researchers, how to find good content, what to do, instead of trying to show them how to use 15 different things, and they get lost. They get lost after the first one, let alone the rest. Just to finish on, I've been running probably for I think the last 3 or 4 years a project with my colleague Jill Emery at Portland State, something called TERMS, which is Techniques in E-Resource Management. I don't know what the S is for. And it's something that we put together, actually inspired by an article that Oliver wrote about the e-resource life cycle. But one of the things we put in there was we put up 14 deal breakers. This is the thing that we basically crowdsourced this. We put up a blog with all of our stuff, all of our thoughts, crowdsourced it for a year. And got people to feed back. And we came up with 14 things that we said, this is when you're purchasing. And I said cancellation and acquisition. I don't want to necessarily do the, I'm a librarian, if you don't do this, I'll cancel your content. We have done, but this is about acquisition, and this is the advice that we were giving to librarians on things that they need to look at when they're purchasing. And number 10 of 14 was that when you're looking at buying publisher content, make sure it's in a discovery tool. And if it isn't in a discovery tool, think very hard about whether you'll get the value for money from it. Will people find the content? So I just I'd throw that in there. It's something that a lot of the UK libraries and a lot of US libraries have adopted. And strangely enough, I found out the other day that Finland have adopted terms. So they're looking at this, and a lot of people are using this for acquisition. So I throw that in there too. And I think that's all I've got to say, so I will hand over.